Rounding to significant figures is slightly different to rounding to decimal places. So we're just going to talk through that and then I'll demonstrate some examples. So what we need to understand first of all is what do we mean by a significant figure. So the word significant means that meaningful, excuse the pun, okay? So of all the 10 digits that we use to make up our numbers, the one that could be classed as not significant sometimes is a 0, okay? So the cardinal rule, the first rule of rounding to first significant figures is that the first significant figure cannot be 0. Okay. The second significant figure, notice both of these can be used as abbreviations for significant figure, can be 0. And the second significant figure follows right after the first significant figure. The third significant figure can also be 0 and follows right after the third. So it's only the first significant figure that cannot be 0. So let's look at a few examples to see how this works. So we're going to compare this with rounding to decimal places so you can see how it's different here. So looking at this first one, I'm going to round first of all this number to 2 decimal places. So rounded to 2 decimal places would be, let's just write it out again, we put the line in here. This tells us to round down, so that leads us to an answer of 43.86. Now, if I was to round instead to 2 significant figures, let's look at how that would be different. So the first significant figure is this one here. Notice it doesn't have to be after the decimal point. This would then be the second, because the second always follows the first. So the rounding line is now going to go in here. This is an 8, so that tells us to round up. So that means that our answer will be 44. Just as with normal rounding, everything after the line gets lost. So let's look at another example. This time we're going to round to 3 decimal places, first of all. So we've got 0.0794, 1, 2, 3 decimal places. So the line goes in here. A 4 means we round down. So that means our answer is 0.079. Now we're going to take the same number and round to 3 significant figures. So we've got 0.0794. So remember, the first significant figure cannot be a 0. So this can't be first, this can't be first, this is the first. Then this is the second, and this is the third, because they follow afterwards. If these had been 0, that wouldn't be a problem. We don't skip over them. It's only the first one that cannot be 0. So that means that our line goes in here, and in fact, as you can see, there's no change to the number when we round it. It stays completely the same. So let's just do one more example, because this will show something else that you need to be aware of. So this time we're going to do it to 1 decimal place to start with. So we've got 7,192.59. So 1 decimal place means putting the line there. This means round up, so that's going to turn into a 6. So we've got 7,192.6. Now we're going to do it to 1 significant figure. So I've got 7,192.59. So the first significant figure is here. So our line is going there. So another way of viewing this is seeing that we're rounding this now to the nearest 1,000. So this number here says round down, so that 7 is not going to change. However, we can't just write the answer as 7, because turning 7,192.59 into 7 is not just rounding, that is completely changing the number. So we need to replace with zeros up to the decimal point so that that 7 still says 7,000. So that's how we do rounding to significant figures.